and have both been and still are amongst the elites of the sport. With the two having faced each other an innumerable amount of times over the years, it's hard to say what their exact win-loss record is. However, it seems Brezink got the upper hand over Ron in a large majority of their matches, and that's why
Still in high position, center of the table. Very
The Russian juggernaut Denis Iplenkov has been gripping people's attention in the strength world for a long time now, and for good reason. But how exactly did he manage to get such a strong foothold, armhold, on the arm wrestling scene, and what are the ups and downs in his career? I am the Arm Historian, and today I'll be your tour guide as we take a look at the rise and fall of Denis Iplenkov.
Me and Dave Chafee, let's go. The clear reality is Dave's gonna wipe me, but I might actually win this poll. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. You also got voted in, right? With all these people, so
Exactly. The fact that I'm in the tournament, peak Dave Chafee has pins on just about everyone. There was an era in American arm wrestling where he was untouchable. It was easy money Dave Chafee because he would just win everything. But at the moment, he's in trouble against me. That's all I could. Let's see. Oh, look at that. I'm winning the poll already. This is ridiculous. Yeah, I'm running away with it. Dave was never known for his endurance at the end of the day, was he?
I wish I had a Bart Wood here to tell the chat that they're making a mockery of the sport.
Stop making a mockery of this.
You watch The Arm Historian?
Love that guy. Very thorough. Very.
And isn't he unique and isn't he talented? And the pieces that he put together, this last one on Engin, wonderful piece, beautifully animated, storytelling.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you might be. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. How are you all doing out there in the arm wrestling world? Welcome to the Arm Historian Live. Let's see who's in chat. Let's get some music going. All the usual stuff here. Tony Rizzo, how you doing? Oh boy, Arm, what's up, man? Testo, just stay, go. Well, ready, go. Here we are. Vladimir, what's up? Good to see you. Lagia, Arm, hey man. What's up? On the commentary table, yeah. Today, pretty straightforward live stream. We're gonna go over all the matches of East vs West 21, which will be happening in 6 days, 4 hours, 40 minutes. Yeah, that's about it. We're gonna give our predictions. I'm gonna run some polls, so chat can kind of give their opinion on what's going to happen. And yeah, we're gonna talk about it. That's basically it for this live stream. Like I said, pretty straightforward. Let's pull up the matches here. I'm gonna start with the preliminary matches. For those of you that don't know, East vs West has decided to broadcast matches before the actual event for free on their YouTube channel. So yeah, I've talked about this before. I think it's a great thing that they're doing. Yeah, and I hope it works out well for them. Hey, glad to have you here, Testo. Atlantis, what's up, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome in. Yeah, let's jump right into it, shall we? Groenland versus Brisson. Who do you guys have? I'll run a poll for every match. I'll run a poll. I might run some polls a little longer than others, depending on how long we're actually talking about these matches. But yeah, I'm, as always, very interested to see who you guys actually have in these matches. Because I've got a feeling it might be different from me. Here we go, the post up and running. I'll put that up on screen too, so you guys can follow along. Let me just put it a little higher here. Who do you guys have? Groenland or Brisson? A very difficult one for me personally to make any predictions on. I was very high on Brisson. I still am to a certain degree. I think she definitely has a chance in this match, although Groenland, for sure, the more experienced one in this matchup. It's on the left arm, so keep that in mind. In the open weight class, which for women, I believe, is 80 plus kilograms. Very interesting that they decided to go with 80 plus. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. I've seen some people talk about how they should have more weight classes for women, right? Or maybe change where the super heavyweight cutoff is. I don't know. I think 80 plus is reasonable to a certain degree, because you're just not gonna find that many women who are actually 80 plus kilograms. But still, like, you have some pretty big weight disparity here in the open weight class for the women. So I'd love to see some opinions on that. Personally, I'm gonna give this one to Groenland, just because I think in a super match format, I can see her experience winning out over Brisson. Brisson might have some more raw power, but I still think Anna is gonna take this one in the end. That's me personally. So yeah, make sure to get your votes in. You can tap on the chat window there and get your vote in very quick. Would love to see Kringle, but not gonna spend money on that. What are we talking about here? What is the Kris Kringle 3? Like a movie? Now you guys got me like Kris Kringle 3 pay-per-view. Okay. I was thinking like, what does this have to do with arm wrestling? But yeah. Okay, I see it now. Over on Arm Wrestling TV. Yeah, I did hear about this. On Instagram, I think. The one with Auden and Ray, right? Very interesting. When is that one happening? When is that one happening? I wonder. Autumn vs. Ray tonight. It's happening tonight. Okay, interesting. 1 hour and 15 minutes. Okay, so right after the live stream. Yeah, you're gonna be able to watch that. I might have to watch that. How much is it? Let me quickly check. Phil Woody coming in with a £2 super chat here. There's a little support for the best history teacher. I greatly appreciate it. Phil Woody. Yeah, I'm a big Phil Woody fan. Know the guy. I have met the guy in real life. Really chill guy. Knows what he's talking about. Yeah, thanks so much, Phil Woody. I greatly appreciate the support there. Really, I do appreciate it. Yeah, Kris Kringle. Maybe I should watch it. It's a very interesting name. It's like a reference to Christmas, right? Very interesting. I see Bob Brown is pulling Artem Taranenko, it seems, and then Hunter Knopfs is going against... let me see. Derek Smith versus Tom Nelson, Justin Bishop versus Hunter Knopfs, Kenny Johnson versus Will Klingman, Gordon Sill versus Michael Vaz, John Tarian versus Dallas Langston, Luke Kint versus Alex Koshadze. And yeah, like we said, Bob Brown versus Artem Taranenko. Interesting, yeah. I think I'll be watching this. Thank you guys for tuning me in on this a little more, because I saw some social media posts on it, but I didn't really get invested. But yeah, I might be watching this just to see how, like, mainly the production is done, right? I'm very interested in that. See how they can manage, because I'm assuming, yeah, the budget will be smaller than big events like East versus West, right? In the meanwhile, it seems our audience is pretty split on Gronlund and Brisson. Like I said, I do think Gronlund will take this one, but I might be wrong there. It's not like I'm not giving Brisson any chances in this match. She might well take this one, and to a degree, I kind of want her to take this match and show that she's progressing at a rapid, yeah, in like a very quick way. It would be good in a rapid pace. Could be fun, because Devon should be there. Yeah, most probably will, right, if Auden is there. Very interesting, the Chris Kringle event. But yeah, I'll stop the poll here. It's about 50-50, so kind of along the lines what I'm thinking, but I'm giving the edge to Gronlund here. Let's move on to the next one, which is Sterengas versus Merlot. Sterengas, I think, coming in as the underdog as far as experience on the table goes. Jason Merlot, of course, friend of the channel, really great arm wrestler, good guy all around. I'm sure Sterengas is a nice guy too, but yeah, I'm a bit biased towards Jason, and I hope he'll take the victory in this match. So I'll run another poll here for you guys. Who do you have? Is it Sterengas or is it Jason Merlot? Let me quickly fix my cam. For some reason, it's always going on to like autofocus. So I don't know why. Let's see. Camera control, focus. That should be fine like this. There we go. Okay. Yeah, very interested to see what you guys think on this one. Like I said, I personally have Merlot. I think he's coming in with the experience, and he's finally getting to a point where he kind of wants to conquer the rankings, is what he said. I saw a little interview with him, and a couple of other guys, like Bogdan Stojka was there too, on the East vs. West YouTube channel, I believe. Might have been on the fix. I know Merlot has been on the fix a couple of times, so yeah. I think, yeah, Merlot should have this, right? I hope it's like a stepping stone for him onto some more high-profile matches. I know he's been working hard, so yeah. Genuinely, I'm hoping Jason will have this match. And if I'm trying to be objective here, like, word around like the arm wrestling community is that Sterengas is very strong, especially for the limited amount of experience he has in the sport. I heard some great things about him, so might be a tough match, might be a tough matchup, but I think experience, especially over potentially 5 rounds, right? Best 3 out of 5 on the left arm. Jason should have this. Because I think Merlot was also talking about how people generally think of him more as a right-handed puller, but how his left arm is as strong, if not stronger, than his right arm. So, yeah, rooting for my boy Jason here. And in reality, I think on paper, he should have this match. That's my opinion. Lagia says, why do some people call this the worst card ever? In his opinion, it's the best US card so far. Are people really calling this the worst card ever? To be honest, I haven't seen a lot of opinions on what people think about the card in general. But for me personally, definitely not the worst card out there. I can see some people going that way because there's not like the really, really big names like Levan or Devon or Vitali, something like that, none of those are pulling. So maybe people are kind of going off that, or maybe it's the fact that half of the matches are left arm matches, might have something to do with it. Yeah, I have no clue why people would be calling this the worst card in history, because yeah, I don't see it personally. Vladimir agrees with Lagia here, saying he thinks it's one of the better US cards so far, maybe the best, even lacking outstanding main event. The main event, haven't heard that one in a while. Nope says, how long ago did you reveal your face? I'm shook. I did a face reveal, or a human form reveal, I should say, a couple months ago. Like, I called in the help of a couple big name arm wrestlers, but to be fair, it is one of my lowest viewed videos that I've put out, so people generally don't seem to care, which is just fine by me. I tend to want to let my content speak for itself and not focus so much on me. Like, I talk about myself sometimes, but that's more in live streams with like the die-hard viewers. I think that's also the main reason why I use my arm form for my main content, so to speak, is because I didn't really see a point to like involve myself in any way with it. I just wanted to keep the focus on the sport and on the athletes. But then I did reveal my human form just to make it a little easier. I had some content that I wanted to put out where I was visible in, and in the future I also want to make some content that I can't really make if I don't reveal myself like this, you know what I mean? So yeah, it wasn't worth it anymore to not show people my my actual human face. Michael versus Georgie is an amazing main event in my eyes. No way it's not going to be a grinder, says Lagia. Yeah, I think in general every Michael Todd match is at least entertaining. So I'm always stoked to see Michael on the card. Even though Michael probably doesn't like me personally or as a content creator, as far as I can tell. I really like Michael as an arm wrestler, so yeah. Make of that as you will. Testo says, have you competed on the table? Yes. I do arm wrestle in the real life. I had a super match not that long ago with like the Philippines #1. I lost that one, but that was quite alright. And yeah, I do compete in local tournaments. Like a year and a half ago or something, I won the amateurs at like the biggest tournaments around here. And now I'm trying to work my way up through the pro rankings in the region here. So yep, I do arm wrestle. I train once a week on the table, and then I have some other trainings, like sometimes arm wrestling specific, sometimes just general strength training throughout the week. So yeah, I do arm wrestle. Nope says, nice to see you and your content rocks. Also, East vs West 21 is going to be great, and I'm going to Chris Kringle pull 3 right now. Awesome. Yeah, chat turned me on, and thank you, by the way, for saying you like my content. I greatly appreciate it. There's more coming very soon. I know there's kind of been a lull because I've been a little busy, but there will be several videos dropping in quick succession during the next couple of weeks, so yeah. MMT will forever be salty for your piece. Yeah, I think so, although I feel like... Okay, granted, when I made the Rise and Fall of Michael Todd, was one of my very first videos, so I was still kind of looking for a tone. So I may have gone a little, like, harsh on him, you know what I mean? But I think in general, there wasn't that many bad things I said about him. And like I said, I do appreciate Michael Todd as a puller, and I'm always looking forward to his matches, so... As far as this match, the crowd seems once again very divided, 50-50 right down the middle. Like I said, I have Jason on this, we'll see. Might be completely wrong. But yeah, I do think it has the potential to be a pretty good match. Let's move on to the next one here. I'll end the poll and I'll start a new one. Who do you have? Is it Schoolboy, social media star Schoolboy, or is it Rickert Bornman? Bornman representing South Africa and or Australia, I believe. Who do you guys have in this match? A very interesting match. I'm glad they're getting Schoolboy on the table in these events. Just because I think he has such a massive following and he's a good arm wrestler. And I actually like this matchup. I talked to Rickert on social media. I am in the progress of making a piece on him, in which he will be involved too. So it'll be very interesting to see, for me personally, the outcome of this match, because it pertains to a video I'm working on directly. Also, the reason why I haven't released that video yet is because I wanted to wait for the result of this match so I can also incorporate it into the video. This is going to be a left arm match. All the matches on the preliminary card, so to speak, the preliminary card, are going to be left-handed matches. I don't know why my camera is lagging a bit. Yeah, the audio seems a little out of sync here, but that's okay. Let me know if it bothers you guys a lot. Tomer says Michael is just an insecure person. He made a video recently trying to prove his hands aren't small. And he insults commenters in his fits. Sometimes. Just a butthurt, insecure gear junkie, according to Tomer there. Yeah, I don't know. I do agree that Michael Todd comes off as insecure sometimes. That being said, like I said, I think he's a great arm wrestler. He's been in the sport for so long. And I'm always entertained by Michael. He's a character, you know. There's so many arm wrestlers out there who, maybe on a personal level, I wouldn't get along with super well, but I think are great characters for the sport, and I do think Michael is one of them. Tomer says if Bornman doesn't win this easily, then I'll be damned. There is a lot of hype around Bornman. That's certainly true. Yeah. It's interesting. It's always interesting because Schoolboy has been very up and down with how he performs. I feel like for Schoolboy, in a lot of his super matches, his endurance really is detrimental to his overall performance. So I feel like as long as he can stay in the match and he worked on his endurance, he should have a decent chance here. That being said, I really like Bornman for this match too, especially on the left arm. I think he has a really good shot here. But all in all, pretty equal match in my opinion. Or at least a match that's very hard to predict, you know what I mean? It's very hard to know where people like Schoolboy stand in the rankings. And since Bornman is new on the scene too, same goes for him, right? Testos is always funny to see Michael crash out on the table, yeah. Vladimir says Rickert seems very confident, first time he speaks out like that. Yep. Homer says Michael's career summed up press with bone lock. Bone lock got too painful, then King's move with bone lock. Really nice technical arsenal. Yeah, I think Michael is one of those pullers that a lot of people have strong opinions on. Often mentioning, like you did here, the bone lock and stuff. He's been in the sport for so long. I mean, how long has he been pulling? Like nearly 30 years now, or even longer? Yeah. He's been in there for a long time. It only makes sense to me that he changes up how he pulls throughout that time. But yeah, I do agree. Very controversial puller. Probably why a lot of people like to watch his matches too. You love to hate him sometimes, you know what I mean? Although I wouldn't say I hate Michael, speaking personally here. Like I said, his hate for me is not reciprocal. Is my camera lagging for you guys? Like, it seems my camera is a little behind on the actual audio. Weird. It might just be for me, but yeah, that's what it looks like. But yeah. I like this match personally. I will give the slight edge to Bornman, but I like it. Camera is fine, that's good. Nope, thank you. Testo says Michael under the table toddler. Yeah, I think Michael Todd is also one of the pullers with the most nicknames in arm wrestling history. Like John Brezink had a lot of nicknames throughout his career, but I think Michael Todd has more. Which, you know, kind of speaks to the controversial figure he is, right? Like I said, people love to hate him. I'll end this here. It seems like chat gives the edge to Schoolboy, so I think so far 3 pretty even and good matches that could go either way, if you would ask me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this preliminary card. I hope they make like the live viewers public, so we kind of get an idea on how it's performing, right? And how many of those viewers would potentially convert to the actual main event. I hope it does well for them. Let's move on here. Victoria Carlson versus Ayane Takenaka. Who do you have? Is it Carlson? Or is it Takenaka? Like I said, I said it before, I'm a big fan of the Japanese arm wrestling scene. I think Japan is a country with a very big arm wrestling history attached to it, like a very deep arm wrestling history attached to it. So always very interesting to see Japanese pullers kind of get into the fold of the actual world elite here. And I think Takenaka has proven that she's at that like upper echelon of her weight class. It's going to be a left arm match in the featherweight division, so that means up to 50 or 60 kilograms. What is it? 50, I think, right? Yeah, 50. So I think we're 60. No, 60. It must be 60, right? So yeah, 2 lightweights, 2 featherweights facing off. Victoria Carlson, of course, has been doing very well lately, proving herself on the scene. One of those Swedish female arm wrestlers that is always hovering close to the actual top of the pool there. So again, I think a good match personally. Like, I know people are or might be saying this is one of the worst events in recent history, but so far I'm not really seeing it. Like, as far as matchups goes, I think so far it's been pretty equal. They did a pretty good job in picking actual opponents. That being said, I'll give the edge to Takenaka here. I think in general, she's stronger or has the potential to be stronger. So yeah, I also kind of want to see her win. Just want to see her do well. But as long as it's a good match, I'm happy with this one, either way. Tomer says, Riekert in my mind should run through him. If not, then I'd love to see Riekert versus Dennis. That's an interesting one. Riekert versus Dennis. Hope it's only the first of many Takenaka matches to come. She's so impressive. I agree. I think she's a very leave it all on the table puller. And I think a lot of Japanese pullers share that kind of mindset when they go to the table. And Takenaka seems to be no different there. So, yeah. Love her as a puller. Want to see more of her. And I hope she does well in this match. I'm going to give the edge to her here. Tomer says, I'm going to be honest, I know nothing about women's arm wrestling. That's fair. It's not like I'm that well versed on women's arm wrestling. I actually should make more videos on some female arm wrestlers. I think apart from them having the potential to do well if I package them well with like a good thumbnail and title, I think there's also a lot of like untapped like potential there, right? A lot of like information that isn't readily available yet, and not a lot of content made on them in general. So yeah, I should get into it more, but just like you, I have to admit I'm not super well versed on like the intricacies of female arm wrestling yet. I'll get to it. Testo says Sweden has so many great women arm wrestlers. Yes, I agree. I think the way they're elevating their women in arm wrestling is great. and other countries could certainly learn a thing or two from them, for sure. Like consistently, they've been doing well for quite a long time there. That's not to say they don't have any good male arm wrestlers, but I think if you look at the ratio, like the population ratio compared to how many female champions they have in arm wrestling, it becomes clear very fast that yes, they do have like the top female arm wrestlers in the world, like come from Sweden. So yeah. The Lucky Ones podcast says I'm here at just the right time. Indeed. If you want to know more about female arm wrestling in general, I highly suggest you check out the Lucky Ones podcast. They're kind of, to me at least, they're kind of leading the way in covering female arm wrestling. And yeah, I definitely am going to be contacting them whenever I'm going to be making a video on a female arm wrestler in specific, which will be soon. Because looking through my videos, like, I've talked about some female arm wrestlers tangentially, but never actually featured one, I think, in like a big video of mine. So that's something that should change, I believe. Because yeah, it is quite deep there, or it's becoming quite a deep pool there too. So far, chat seems to have Takenaka as the favorite too, with quite a big margin over Victoria Carlson here. So yeah. Very interested in this match. Should be the first one of like the main event. So yeah, looking forward to that one a lot. I'll end the poll there. And we'll move on to the next one, which is Bogdan Stoica versus Mr. Paul Lynn. It's going to be hard for me, once again, to not be biased here to a certain degree. Longtime viewers of the channel know that Paul Lynn has been helping me behind the scenes and even in front of the camera sometimes with some videos. He's been on the live before. Yeah, big Paul Lynn fan. I think the way he approaches the sport is very professional. I think he's a great athlete in general. He knows his stuff. And I think he should be the favorite going into this match. As far as I've heard, it's on the right arm in the middleweight division, so that's up to 95 kilograms. As far as I've heard, most people will have the White Orc Paul Lynn in this match. That being said, I did hear some things from like interviews with Bogdan and stuff that Bogdan is leveling up and is very strong at the moment. He has the experience, he has the technical ability to potentially get a win. So I'm not saying Bogdan is without a chance here, but I do think, in my opinion, Paul Lynn should have this one. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think it's funny because Bogdan, when I talk to people about Bogdan Stoica, one of the things that's almost inevitably being brought up in that conversation is his loss to Ryan Bowen at Arm Wars. And I think a lot of people think Bogdan Stoica is still that guy, and fault him for losing to Ryan Bowen. I think that's a little ridiculous if I'm being honest. Ryan is a good arm wrestler. Maybe Bogdan had an off day. So many things can go into why an athlete would lose a match, so to kind of discredit them because of one match, to me seems a little ridiculous. But once again, that being said, I do have Paul in here, and I do think anyone that is somewhat involved in arm wrestling or like is looking deep into the sport, not anyone, but like most people who are deep into the sport will probably pick Paul in here as their favorite. But yeah, love to see it. I think it's one of the first matches that might be one-sided completely. You could argue about the Takenaka match too, but I think this match has the potential to be one-sided, but I'd love to see a war here. I'd love to see I'd love to see Bogdan Stoica actually come in and show the people his true potential, you know what I mean? Even if he doesn't walk away with a win, which he might walk away with a win, but even if he doesn't, I just hope it's a good match. Because I do like Bogdan. from what I've seen of him in interviews and stuff, yeah, I'm definitely not a Bogdan hater. Tomer says Paul has great wins. At this match taking place a few years ago, I'd easily put Lin as the favorite. However, after his loss to Rustam, I don't think he's a dominant favorite. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Neil is praising him. Yeah. And that makes sense, right? I think it's also important when looking at interviews with like, or between Neil Pickup and Bogdan Stoica and Paul Lin, just to give an example, Neil knows these guys both very well and wants to promote this match as best as possible, right? I think that makes sense. I'm not saying he's like lying to you guys or like distorting his view on it. I'm just saying it makes sense for people to want to hype up this match as this is gonna be a good match. Which it might be. It might be. Testo says delusional Ryan Bowen. Ryan has been on this channel too and has been like friendly and kind to me before. I've got I made a video on Ryan. I've met Ryan in real life also. And yeah, I got along well with him. I have my gripes with Ryan. I went over them in the video I made on him. It's not like I have no critique for Ryan whatsoever. But all in all, I like I think with a lot of people, they kind of pull in a lot of personal things from Ryan's personal life and kind of blame him for that, which I think doesn't make any sense to me personally. But yeah, you can fault Ryan for plenty of things that have nothing to do with his personal life, but just some iffy things that I think you're justified in critiquing him on. You know what I mean? But speaking for me personally, he's been nothing but professional and friendly with me. So yeah, make of that what you will. The Lucky Ones podcast has Lin for the win. 15 kilogram gripe, says Jacob Tyson, whatever that means. Good to see you, by the way, Jacob. Yeah, Vladimir, we'll see. I'm not like giving Bogdan no chances here because I think he's a good puller. And he might have improved a lot, strength-wise. So, yeah, I'm interested in this match. Might not be as one-sided as a lot of people think it will be. That being said, our chat here has Lin as the 78% favorite over Bogdan. So, yeah, that is quite an indication. Calvin Jones says Bowen missed weight by 15 kilograms, I think. Yeah, there's kind of small things like that you could critique him on. Also kind of fundraising things and stuff. I go over it in my my video on him if you want to know more about the things I would specifically critique on Ryan, or just about his career in general. I suggest you go check out the rise and fall of Ryan Bowen. Plenty of stuff. Plenty of other stuff you can take a look at too when it comes to Ryan if you're interested. But right now we're talking about Zeranov versus Sporong. Talking about good Swedish male arm wrestlers. Tobias Sporong here. Got his work cut out for him, I do believe. It is a left arm match once again. A lot of left arm matches on this card, and this is one of them in the super heavyweight division. So 115 kilogram plus. Who do you guys have? Is it Zeranov or is it Sporong? I personally have Zeranov here, pretty straightforward. Don't let that sway you on how you're voting. I want to hear your genuine opinion on this. But I personally have Zeranov in this match. I love me some Tobias Sporong. I think he's an awesome puller, super dynamic on the table. Like Sporong is one of those pullers when he feels a certain angle isn't working. He's not afraid to just jump in or do whatever it takes. Try every angle possible, right? So I do think there is a chance here that Sporong will take it, depending on what kind of condition he comes in at. but my gut feeling says Zeranov probably has the edge in this match. Iago Rossi says Zeranov will slip, and then the straps he will win. Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable take here. If Zeranov can take the slip without getting too much damage there, and he doesn't get caught in one of Sporong's very fast hits, then I can see him overpowering Tobias in the straps. I think that's a good point you're making there. Logia says, one of my favorite fun facts is that Tobias has yet to win in the strap. Interesting. Yeah. I did not know that, but it does make some sense to me. I think his hand is very strong. Like, didn't he have one of the best grips? Like, pure grip strength when he tries... Like, how do you call that thing? Like, the meter where people try to test their grip strength. I think Tobias was, like, up there. Like, a very high number on that thing. So, yeah, it does make sense that he's a hand-dominant puller, right? And even, like, people who arm wrestle, I'm a very hand-dominant puller, too. Like, at a way lower level, obviously, than all of these guys. But, like, when I pull people that are similar to me, like my peers in arm wrestling, I'm a very hand-dominant puller. And I do notice that I perform way better out of straps than in straps. I still like pulling in straps. And I think hand strength, wrist strength, stuff like that, and containment is still important in the straps, but way less than outside, right? So, yeah, I do think it makes sense that Tobias prefers to pull outside the strap or is stronger outside the strap comparatively. Hey, my jogger, how you doing? You're talking about the dynometer. Yes, indeed. Thank you for filling me in there, for filling in the blanks in my Swiss cheese brain sometimes. Arm Wrestling Chris says, so Chris Kringle pulled 3 live in 30 minutes. Where to watch? I think you can watch it over on Arm Wrestling TV's YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. I will probably be there too. Although, yeah, I don't know if it's going live in 30 minutes. Might have to cut the stream. Yeah, I think by the time this stream ends, Chris Kringle 3 will go live. So you can stick around here, talk with us a little bit about East vs. West, and then jump right over to Chris Kringle 3 if you so choose. Zeranov looks like he went to Dagestan and forgot, says Testo. No worries, Arm Wrestling Chris. I changed off the name Tugalicious, trying to get my other channel on other platforms connected. Interesting, Majogger. Okay, Tugalicious. Yeah, I do know that name, of course. 15 euros or USD, Vladimir thinks. Interesting, okay. That's I feel like a pretty reasonable price point. Yeah, interesting. Zeranov is the chat favorite here with 79% of the votes. We'll end the poll here. I think I agree largely with chat. Like I said, Tobias has a chance. A lot will depend on in what kind of condition he comes in, right? And I know that's like a generality you can kind of apply to every match or to every puller. But I do think for some, it applies more. Like, there's some people who I feel like are more consistent in the shape they come into the match than others. And I think Tobias is one of those people that sometimes comes in really great shape and then sometimes seems a little iffy for some reason. So, yeah, I think it depends a lot on that one. Move on to the next one. Prokopchik versus Tarabatis. Who do you have here? Who do you have? Is it Prokopchik? Making sure I spell that right. Or is it the GOAT himself, Rasatis, the self-proclaimed GOAT? It is a right-handed match. I think that's pretty important here in the lightweight category. So that means up to 77 kilograms or 170 pounds for those using the Imperial system there. This one is harder for me to predict. My instinct says Tarasatis will take this, like, without a lot of issue. But Prokopchik is like... I can't help root for Prokopchik sometimes, because he's such a controlled technical puller. And I think on the right arm it should be Tarasatis, right? Yeah. Okay, looking at the poll, it seems like 100% of you so far have Mindaugas here as the favorite, so yeah. It seems like you guys know something I don't, and I think Tarasatis will take this one easily. As much as I hate to say it, Tarasatis wins, says Tomer. Majogger says, oh man, that's a crazy match right there, but I have Mindaugas, that's fair. Mindaugas is the ultimate sleeper build, says Testo. Yeah, although you could argue a similar case for Prokopchik. I don't think... Prokopchik looks in really good shape, right? And has a big bicep and stuff like that, but I do think both these guys could pass for Natty, right? I think that's fair to say. I'm not saying they are, but both of them could pass, I believe. Such big biceps, where is your strength, says PR Snake. Yeah, I do love me some Mindaugas, to be fair. I think he's almost always entertaining when it comes to his super matches, so I don't mind seeing this match for sure. And like I said, Prokopchik is such a consummate professional that is always a treat for me personally. Like watching his technical ability on the table, hanging in there. He's one of those pullers that like sucks people in so much sometimes, and like just hangs in there on the table to such a degree where people think they can pull through him, but he just pulls out the win by hanging in there. You know what I mean? Mindaugas was sick for some time, but says he's ready, says Arm Wrestling Chris. Yeah, I hope this will be a good match. I'm looking forward to this one personally. I've seen a couple of people say this should have been one of the main matches, like the main event of the entire thing. I don't know if I agree with that, but I do think it has the potential to be a great match. It's like chat is largely on the side of Tarasatis here, with 92% of the votes going to him, so yeah. Most likely the only natural pullers on the card, says Testo. No, I think Jason Merlot, probably Natty too. As far as the conversations I've had with him, that's the impression I got. So definitely not the only two potential Natties on the card. Not that we really need to get into it, because it's, at the end of the day, it's always going to be speculation. Even when pullers have come out and said they were natural, you can still speculate on what do you actually mean by being natural. Do you mean have never taken any PEDs? Do you mean you're not actively taking them now? What do they mean, right? So it's always like rife with speculation, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about it more in other live streams, but I don't see a lot of reason to get deep into it here. But I do feel like there's a couple of natty pullers here, or like at least potential natty pullers. Levan is a walking pharmacy, says Testo. Certainly true. Lighter weight matches seem to be gaining more traction, says Majogger. I hope so. Like I said, I've said this many times before, I think weight classes don't matter a lot as far as popularity go. They do matter some. I think people have a general desire to see some of the biggest freaks ever pull on the table, but I don't think they matter quite as much as some people think they do. And I think it's more about characters and stories behind the pullers, you know what I mean? I might be biased in that, considering the kind of content I make, but I do think there's a couple of really interesting characters coming up in the lighter weight classes that have the potential to build a following and get people really interested in the weight classes. And Mindaugas is definitely one of them. I feel like definitely one of them. especially like talking about sleeper builds and stuff like that. I think that's also one of the things that people are generally drawn to. Like skinnier people, I don't want to say skinnier, but like more natural looking people being able to dominate people who look way more bulky and way more muscular. I think that in and of itself is also like a potential draw to your match, right? So in that sense, I do think people like Mindaugas Tarasetis, coupled with a pretty outspoken personality, a lot of like ego, which he definitely has. I think that has the potential to become a big draw for the lighter weight class. So yeah, I'm all for it. Calvin Jones says, does Tobias claim to be nutty? I believe him. Yeah, I believe that. I don't know if he claims it, but I believe that. Yeah, could be. Could be. I think it's still the vast minority. I would think, personally, I think that. I don't have any proof or something, but I think the vast minority of pullers at that level is natural or hasn't taken any PEDs ever. But I do think there's some out there still. I do think it's possible. There might be some elite genetics involved there, but I do think it's possible. Let's move on to Yevgeny Prudnik versus Jordan Sonev. Who do you guys have here? Is it Sonev or your boy Prudnik? Prudnik, also one of the people on this card that I've had the pleasure of meeting in real life. Was totally friendly and seemed like a normal guy when I met him. Yeah, I don't know about this one. It's on the left arm. It's on the left arm. Keep that in mind. In the 115 kg class, so the 254 pound class. Yeah, this is a tough one for me a little because I don't quite know what kind of shape either of these guys will be in. Like, my gut instinct is going with Prudnik. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. The last things I've seen of Prudnik have been him training with some of the local guys here around me. Which doesn't really tell me a lot. You know, because most of even the top guys around here are still at a lower level in general than the actual elite. But yeah, my gut instinct says Prudnik here. Event gay, like Devon says. Arm Wrestling Chris says hook war. It might. It might turn into a hook war. I feel like both of these guys are versatile enough where it doesn't necessarily have to be, but the likelihood is high, you know what I mean? The likelihood is high. Arm Wrestling Chris says depends if he has trained for arm wrestling or for his opera. Yeah. Prudnik, a man of many talents. Kind of a renaissance man in a way. I like Prudnik. Prudnik is one of those people I feel like if he developed his English a little more and started to express himself more, worked on his social media presence a little more. I'm not saying he has to or he wants to, but I think he's one of those people that has the potential to become one of the big characters in the sport, you know what I mean? He has the charisma, he has the looks, he's funny. Like, I've seen him be actually like witty in conversations. So I do think, yeah, Prudnik, one of those guys that could potentially be one of the people that carries the sport into the future. But yeah, that remains to be seen, of course. Yeah, indeed, Majogger, a man of many, many talents. I agree. So yeah, we'll have to see. I think the whole conflict over there in Ukraine has kind of thrown a wrench in his progression to a certain degree. I don't think he necessarily has access to the same training partners or training regimen he had before, or even supplement regimen he had before. So I think all those things might kind of play into me not being 100% sure that Prudnik has this match in the bag, you know what I mean? It introduces some doubt into my mind as what kind of shape will Prudnik be coming in to the match with, you know? I don't know. Calvin Jones says, I think steroids mess up the voice, so he tried to stay nutty for a while. Prudnik is very entertaining and smart. I agree, and that's an interesting perspective. I didn't really think of that before, like how much would steroids influence his singing career? I have no clue, but it does make sense to me that it would have an effect on it, for sure. So, yeah, hard to say. Right now, it seems like chat largely agrees here that Prudnik is the favorite in this match. Yeah, I agree. I think he should be the favorite. That being said, it is a left arm match, and I know Tsanev is no pushover, especially on the left. So it has the potential to become a good match, I believe. Scary match for Tsanev to take. I agree there, Majogger. I agree. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think we can end the poll there with about 80% of you having Prudnik as the favorite here. Let's move on to the next one, which very interesting that they put this match this high up on the card. Might be smart. They're not exactly like the top arm wrestlers on the card yet of the rankings, you know what I mean? But they are some of the better known arm wrestlers, I do think, or at least some of the more hyped up arm wrestlers, right? Richard Borman's stock is rising like meteorically, and Schoolboy, of course, has one of the biggest, if not the biggest, social media following out there of any arm wrestler. So, yeah, definitely understand why they put them that high up the card, but I do think it is an interesting choice nonetheless. Who do you have here? This time on the right arm, Schoolboy or Richard Borman. It'd be interesting to see if this will be any different on the right arm. Maybe you guys can fill me in on what do you think these guys' dominant arm is? Yeah, Atlantis might be way off on that, but it does make sense to me to a certain degree that steroids would have some impact on like the tenor of your voice, right? The PR Snake says Arm Wrestling TV did so much. I agree. Love me some Arm Wrestling TV. They're also like super chill about using some clips from their footage in videos. Never had any copyright issues with them whatsoever. To be fair, I do try my hardest to always comply with fair use. I would never like just take footage and re-upload it in its entirety or anything like that. I barely make compilations or stuff like that. I always try to be transformative with my content. But yeah, never had any issues whatsoever with any people from Arm Wrestling TV trying to copyright strike me or anything of that nature. So yeah, from that end, they're super chill. Rickert will win, he can even take his hand. Again, yeah, I think it's very interesting, right? Because if you ask me, Schoolboy's biggest issue so far, from what I could tell from super matches that he's had, is his endurance. It seems like he's very strong off the go, sometimes tries to show off a little too much maybe, play with his food a little, which makes him gassed out all the more quicker. So it is very interesting that Schoolboy is one of the people, the only one, together with Rickert, who will have a double feature match on this card, right? He'll pull 2 times in one night. So will that influence his endurance even more? Will that make it harder for Schoolboy? How good is Rickert's endurance? All these things are kind of unknowns, which in my opinion makes these matches quite interesting. Seems like chat has Bornman here as the favorite too. Tough call for me. Tough call. Like I said, I think a lot of it depends on how tired is Schoolboy gonna be. How much resting time will there be between the two matches? I'm assuming that's one of the reasons why they put this match so late in the event, is because both these guys have already pulled earlier in the night and they want to give them time to recover. But yeah, I'll probably give the edge to Bornman here, but one of the big unknowns, in my opinion, on the card. Could go either way, I feel like. Arm wrestling channels are quite cooperative with each other, says Majogger. Yeah, for the most part. I've had my fair share of issues in the past. I've been called a thief before by a very prominent arm wrestler. But all in all, like, just speaking about arm wrestlers in the general community, like, has been nothing but great. Like, I've throughout the years that I've been doing this already, because it's been like multiple years already now, I've had contact with so many different arm wrestlers, and the amount of them that has been like kind of douchey to me has been very low. Like a very, very small percentage. So most of them have been super generous with their time, have welcomed me into the community. The ones I've met in real life have been really nice to me. There's only like a small percentage of people that, like, I don't know, I think you have this with anything almost, especially nowadays. But sometimes there's this divisiveness behind the scenes that really caught me off guard at first. When I first got into the arm wrestling community, like deeper into it and actually talking to people behind the scenes and stuff, I started to get like an idea of there's a lot of people that hate each other, a lot of people that can't stand each other, and that if you affiliate with either one of those parties, the other one will basically like kick you out. Will want nothing to do with you, or will think very negatively about you, and it's stuff like that. I think that's pretty prominent in arm wrestling. But like in general, on a one-to-one level, had issues with very few people, like almost none. I've received a couple of strikes on my channel before, but that was more like I don't know. That was more an issue with one specific person. Not so much with like the community at large. That being said, let's take a look at the poll here. Bornman is the heavy favorite, it seems, according to chat, with 80% of the votes going to him. Spacey, how you doing, Spacey? Good to see you. Says Bornman is a freak mutant. A ton of potential from that young man, I do agree. He's been like tunnel vision going in on arm wrestling 100% as far as I can tell. So like I said before in the live stream, I'm making a video on him. And yeah, I like Boardman. Arm wrestling Chris says, I think Riekert takes this fairly convincingly. There you go. Tomer says Riekert with both arms. Riekert will put Schoolboy's arm through the table, says Testo. So a lot of Riekert fans here, it seems. Majogger has it more like a 50-50 match. That makes sense. Spacey says it's conspiracy of the arm Illuminati. I like that. I like that, Spacey. Riekert has no limits on endurance, said the Lucky Ones podcast, according to After Pulls Up Knuckles Up. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. If that is the case, then I'd probably give the edge to Riekert, especially in this match. Probably in the first one too, but especially in this match. Calvin Jones says, I think Schoolboy panics when he isn't winning. Riekert has proven to be calmer and to make adjustments. I think that's, like in general, super important in these super matches. Not to panic when you're actually not doing well and making the adjustments on the table. And yeah, I do think you're right that Schoolboy might have a couple of issues with doing that still. But yeah, Schoolboy is not sitting still. Schoolboy is evolving. I'm sure he's evolving his mindset too. So yeah, I do think he has a chance here. We'll cap off the poll there. Move on to the second to last match. which is Jerry Cataract versus Kamil Jablonski, the face-off of the flop wrist pressers. Who do you guys have here? Is it the Ginger Dread Man, Jerry Cataract, or is it the Golden Dragon, Kamil Jablonski? This is one of those matches that seems very interesting for people who are deep into the sport. I think most people will want to see this match just because it's like kind of a novelty thing to a degree. I know both of these guys are high up in the rankings, so it makes sense outside of the novelty factor why they're doing this match. But I do think one of the main draws to this match is probably the X factor of like seeing two dedicated pressers go up against each other, because that isn't something you see a lot. I think a lot of people are predicting to this turning into a hook match. I don't know. Will we see a top roll out of either of these guys? Who knows, right? I have Jerry here, personally. I think Jerry Cataract has the experience, has the strength. The only thing I can see happening is his mindset not being all there. I've seen that happen to Jerry sometimes, where just like we talked about with Schoolboy, even though he has a lot of experience, Jerry might have the tendency to become a little frazzled if he's not doing so well in the match, or if he's outpowered in a certain angle. That might be a potential here. So I'm giving Kamil some chance, but I do think in general I have Jerry as the favorite in this match. PR Snake says Cataract is good, but I haven't seen him win a lot lately, and especially against Larratt, that was bad. Yeah, I think Jerry's one of those pullers who he has a style that when you figure it out, you can beat him fast. When you overpower him in a certain angle, take away his ace in the hole, you can beat him fast. And like I said, even though he has the potential to change up, because I do believe I've seen old matches of Jerry where, okay, he's usually pressing, but he does have the potential to pull otherwise. I think he doesn't do it. He just, I don't know why. Maybe he doesn't have the confidence in his other moves to make him go there. So yeah, there is a possibility that happens. Jerry gets outpowered in a certain angle, doesn't want to give up, trying to go for the same thing over and over again, and ends up losing. I think that is a potentiality in this match. That being said, same thing can happen to Kamil to a degree. Both are quote-unquote one-trick ponies in like they have a one move that is like their go-to move. But yeah, still want to see it. Still want to see what happens when both of them go inside in the press. Let's see what happens. Chris Kringle starts in 7 minutes, says Calvin Jones. Yep. By the time this stream will end, you can go over to Chris Kringle on Arm Wrestling TV's YouTube channel and check that out. For sure. A hold low on Jerry's wrist seems to be effective, says Arm Wrestling Chris. Yeah. I think in general that's a pretty good idea against flop wrist pressers. Just take their wrist out of the equation, pull them back, contain them. Yeah. That's a strategy you can use at a lower level in arm wrestling too, against people who generally press a lot. For sure. Spinner says, I wonder will Kamil be Jerry 2.0? Good question. To a degree he is already, right? Madjogger says this is the best royalty-free song. It is a very good one. From the talented Kevin MacLeod, called a Local Elevator. I'll turn it up a little bit so you guys can enjoy along. Seems like you guys have Jerry Cataract here as the heavy favorite in this match with 71% of the vote. So there you go. Let's move on to the last one. We have about 5 minutes left. I want to talk about this match. Georgi Svetkov versus the monster himself, Michael Thoughts. Who do you guys have? Is it Svetkov? Or is it Mr. Thoughts? I have Michael here. Honestly, I have Michael here. I haven't seen a lot of presses out of Cvetkov. Now, that isn't to say Michael is unbeatable without the press, because I don't think that's true. You can beat Michael without a press. But I do think it's one of the things that someone like Georgie will have to use if he wants to beat Michael in any quick fashion, you know what I mean? I don't know. Cvetkov's hand is really strong. I can see him taking Michael's hand almost every round. It's just gonna be a matter of, is he gonna be able to power through Michael's King's move? How fast is he gonna be able to do it? Will he be able to do it more than 1 or 2 rounds? All questions that I'm a little iffy on. I'm not quite sure. I've heard some rumblings about Cvetkov being in great shape, him losing weight, training really hard, doing cardio even and stuff like that. So if Michael draws it out, which Michael has been known to do, then I'd give the edge to Michael. But like I said, you never know. Cvetkov might have trained really hard on his endurance, might be coming in even more powerful. Hard to say. Hey, TOS Move, how you doing, man? Coming in at the tail end of the live stream. Good to see you nonetheless. Good to see you, good to see you. Georgie is really strong, says Tomer. I'm not confident that Todd is in his prime after all of his injuries. But I think Michael wins. Yep, I think that's fair. I'm not sure if Michael will reach his prime again, or if he's in his prime right now. I have my doubts. Like it's this age-old cliche of pullers saying, I'm coming in the best version of myself I ever was. Don't know if that's true necessarily for a lot of people. I'm not saying Michael is over the hill or something like that, or is like terrible now. Like on the contrary, I think in certain ways he's improving still, which is crazy to think about after so many years. But yeah, remains to be seen. I personally have Michael here as the favorite, but I do think there is potentiality for an upset. I do think Cvetkov has the hand control and the hand strength to do something with Michael. It's just going to be a matter of, will he be dynamic enough on the table to actually make it happen? Will he just roll out to his own top roll, hang there like we've seen many times from him? Or will he try some different things and try to apply his, what must be tremendous strength in different angles, right? If he's going to be able to do that, yeah, there is the potential for him to win, I think. But yeah, all in all, I have Michael as the favorite here. I think, let me take a look. Yeah, chat is agreeing here with 87% of you having Monster Michael Todd as the favorite here. Lagia says Michael inherited Ermes' holy vessel and ascended to demi-godhood. I do love me some Monster Michael God memes, I can't lie. I do think the meme game around Michael Todd is some of the best in the arm wrestling world. I can't deny that. I love me some MMT memes. But yeah, he's also, honestly, and I'm going to be 100% here with you guys, he's one of my favorite pullers, one of the most entertaining guys on the scene right now, I feel like. It has been for many years. Michael Todd has become part of the arm wrestling scene in such a way that you can't, like, he's inextricably linked with the arm wrestling scene in a very deep way, I feel like. So yeah, I can't hate on Michael. I can, but I don't hate on Michael. Yeah, looking forward to this match. I think it's a fine main card. I think it's a fine card in general. I'll cap it off here. I'll end the stream by just talking about the event really quickly in general. I'm looking forward to it. It's not the most exciting card ever, I'm gonna admit that, but I think they're trying a couple of new things with the preliminary matches. I also wanted to touch really quick on the fact that they're actually charging extra to watch the after polls as like a separate kind of plus event. I don't know what you guys think about that. I personally have some reservations on that. But yeah, that is something to take into account here. But all in all, looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to be watching it. I'm going to be going live the day after just to talk with you guys, touch base a little bit on what you thought about the event, go over the results. We'll do the same thing for the Kris Kringle event, as I'll probably be watching it right now. I recommend you get your asses over to Arm Wrestling TV to watch the Kris Kringle event if it at all interests you. And other than that, look forward to my videos that I'm going to be releasing in the coming week, hopefully. And I'll catch you same place, same time next week. Until then, Arm Historian, out of here. Bye-bye, guys.